Alright, so this is going to be my second attempt at this one. In this video, we're going to start up with well, I'll just show you. So let's say I place down a building, then I place down a wall. Well, I have a wall there at that socket. If I go back to the socket and spam F, well, guess what? I just placed like 10 more walls in there. You probably, well, I don't even know if there's a way to really show you because they are instanced, but there's actually 10 walls in there, which obviously is a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out a way to prevent that. So we're going to have to create a custom data type. And my thought process here is whenever we call spawn building and we go to and call add instance, we know that we are using a specific part of the building. Like, I'll show you here what it means. So this guy, or is it get hit socket transform? So here, right now we're just returning the socket transform. We're not returning, any other fancy info. However, on get instanced we have the hit index. That's it. But we're not returning any of the information. We're only returning the transform. We need to return the socket name and the hit instance, or the hit index, as well as the hit component, so that we can construct a structure for whenever we go to actually attempt to build. So that way we can set it up and filter it out later. So we'll know that, okay, this component at this instance index has this socket name already used. So that's kind of the basics that we're going to run off of for this. So we want to make a data type that this is going to fill out and return. So let's go ahead and begin. So in our data types.h, we need stuff. So we're going to do this f socket, or f building socket data. And in here, I'm just going to, I don't even think I need any U properties. We're just going to do C++ for it. We need to have the instance. So class, was it U instanced? I can't remember. So I'm going to copy it. So it's going to be U instanced static mesh component, mesh, or instanced component. That's going to be our first one. Now we also need the hit index. And we also are going to need, so let's actually do that first. So int32 index. And we also need the, the socket name and the transform. So we need the f name, socket name, and the f transform, socket transform. Okay, we have all this fun information. Now let's fill it out. So we already know we have data types, so we just need to fill out f building socket data. So let's go ahead and we will construct it up here. So socket data. And we want to make this function return socket data as well. So that's going to be the return type. So I'm actually going to put this up outside of everything. Actually, I don't have a constructor for it, so I'm not worried about it. And then we're just going to return socket data. Simple. So we're going to probably have to initialize this. I don't know, if I don't have a constructor, is that fine? Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, so socket data. Once we get here where we actually want to return, we want to set socket data dot index to equal hit index. We want to set the instanced component to be the hit component. We want to set the socket name to be, obviously, socket name. We want to set the socket transform to equal the socket transform. We want to set the that is all. Okay, so we have all that information filled out, and then we return it. So now we need to go to our building visual and fill out the return type. So I also want to store this. So we're going to put this in the header as well. So I'm going to call this one socket data, and we're probably going to want to rename this function as well, so it makes more sense. So socket data. I'll just do that right. Attach socket. Actually, that was from a previous attempt, so I'm going to remove that. So we're going to have socket data be the name, and f building socket data being the type. So we have that, and that's good to go. Now we need to do these checks. So socket data dot, whoops, wrong thing. Socket transform dot equals blah blah blah. Then we can set the actor transform like that. Simple. And we hold the information that we need. Okay. So hopefully that's getting filled out properly. So now when we go to spawn building, well, I want to handle this logic inside of building.cpp. I got to kind of think of how. So I'm also, let's head over to building.cpp, go to that function, add instance. So we're passing in the build type like that. And honestly, the way we're doing this now kind of gets rid of the need to do a switch statement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually comment this out and flat out just pass this in. So we're passing in the actor transform, and that is that is our own transform. That is actually completely fine. And our own transform is going to also be that socket transform, so we can remove this and have it set up so it only takes in one parameter. So we're going to replace all this with add instance to f building socket data. Let's call it building socket data. And make it a constant. Okay. So we're passing it by reference as well. So we're not having to copy it all around. So now all we have to do is pass in, socket data, like that. So now I just want to get this back to where we were, and that might be the end of the video because this is going to be on the longer side because I'm also having to think about it as well. What we're doing is we're taking the instance mesh and we're adding the instance to the world space by the actor transform. What we're going to do is if building socket data dot instance component, we want to do that again and call add instance world space and pass in building socket data dot socket transform like that. So now let's go ahead and close down the editor, recompile and relaunch, and see if that works. All right, we're back here. Let's just see if we can go ahead and build. That works. It snaps just like I need it to. Make sure they all kind of work. All right, that's switching. That's fine. That filters them out just fine. So I press F again, and it added a foundation. So that's the problem. Okay, so I see what the mistake was that I made. So because we're filtering out the one we're hitting it with. So let me actually show you, even though you probably already know. So hit component is basically the component that our line trace is hitting. So in our case, it's the foundation by default. We can't add anything else because we're getting the foundation. So what I want to do is basically just pass in the type, kind of like what we were doing before. So I think we actually do need this. However, we can hold on to this data. So let's uncomment this out. We're going to re-add the build data. So let's see, that was what? eBuild type. So we're just going to add eBuild type, build type as the second parameter. And then replace actor transform with building socket data, socket transform. And then we can remove that for the time being. And then we have to do the fix down here. So add instance socket data. We're going to pass in the, what was it? The building type. So the way we got that was building types, building type index, dot building type. and save. Okay, let's compile and relaunch and try it again. All right, once we're back here, we should be good to go. We place that down, place down a wall, place down a ceiling, and everything is working to be filtered. So we know that a wall goes up there, so on and so on. Okay, so we're back like we were, except now we have some pretty useful information. We have the instance component that we built the part on. We have the index of which the instance component that we used is. I'm explaining this horribly. That we have the socket name that we used, and then this one we can ignore. So we have these three, which are key for us. I don't think we need anything else. That should be it that we really need. So in the next video, we're going to continue this and hopefully get it finished to where we should no longer be able to spawn objects inside, or better yet, we should no longer be able to add the add building parts inside of each other. So that's going to be it for this one. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon down in the description below, where I have a Team Deathmatch series just for Patrons, as well as early access to all of my videos. If you have any questions or anything like that I did not realize the sky actually moved, feel free to join my Discord that is also linked down in the description below, and I'll try to help you out. So, I'll see you in the next video.